Eli Mercer had been alone for so long that silence had become his closest companion. The Mercer Ranch stretched for miles across the parched Texas plain, a scattering of fences, barns, and dry grass that whispered in the wind like old secrets. Every morning, Eli rose before dawn, fed the horses, and fixed what time and loneliness kept breaking. It was his rhythm, his punishment, and his way of keeping her memory alive. His wife, Clara, had died 8 years ago. The flash flood had come out of nowhere, Red Creek swelling after a week of spring rain until it tore through the valley like a living thing. They said she was trying to save one of the calves when the current swept her away. When the water finally receded, they found her bonnet tangled in a mesquite bush 2 miles downstream, but never her body. The preacher said maybe that was God's mercy. Eli never agreed. A body meant closure. He'd been denied even that. Every day since, Eli had walked the land they built together, feeling the echo of her laughter in every barn beam, every broken fence post. At night, when the wind moaned through the rafters, he sometimes thought it was her voice, calling soft and low. He knew it wasn't, but it made the loneliness easier to bear. That afternoon, the air was heavy and still. A storm was forming somewhere to the west, bruising the horizon with dark clouds. Eli worked along the north fence line, hammering new posts into the clay. Sweat rolled down his back, the air thick enough to drink. He was about to pack up when a sound cut through the quiet, a sharp, lilting laugh. Children. Eli froze, his hammer mid-swing. No one ever came out this far. The nearest neighbor was 8 miles away, and there hadn't been a child on the Mercer land since Clara. He turned slowly toward the road that wound down from the ridge. Dust shimmered in the heat haze, and then 2 small shapes appeared, walking hand in hand. At first, he thought the sun was playing tricks on him. But as they came closer, the details sharpened. 2 girls. Twins, by the look of them. 7, maybe 8 years old. They wore matching blue cotton dresses, the kind mothers used to sew from catalog patterns, and their blonde hair was tied back with ribbons. They were barefoot, and though their clothes were neat, there was dust on their faces and the hems of their dresses. Eli set the hammer down slowly. His throat felt dry. Afternoon, he called, his voice rough. You girls lost. The twins exchanged a glance, the kind only siblings share, silent, knowing. One of them, the slightly taller one, stepped forward. Her eyes were bright blue, clear and steady. Are you Eli Mercer? She asked, her voice small but sure. He frowned. I am. What's your business here? The girl looked down at something in her hand, a small, faded photograph. She hesitated, then held it out to him. Eli took it carefully, brushing away the dust with his thumb. It was a picture of Clara. His Clara, standing beside the old corral, sunlight caught in her hair. She was smiling. God, that smile, and holding something in her arms. Eli squinted closer. 2 small bundles. Babies. He blinked hard, a chill crawling up his spine. This photo didn't exist. He knew every picture ever taken of her. They'd had none like this. Where did you get this? He asked quietly. The other twin stepped closer, her expression soft but serious. Mama gave it to us. Eli's stomach twisted. Your mama. The first girl nodded. She said when the time was right, we should come find you. A gust of wind lifted the dust around them, carrying the smell of rain. Eli's heart thudded unevenly. He took a step back. What's your mama's name? Both girls spoke at once, their voices perfectly in sync. Clara Mercer. For a moment, everything stopped. The wind, the world, his breathing. The hammer slipped from his fingers and hit the dirt with a dull thud. The taller girl smiled faintly. She said you'd be surprised. Eli's pulse roared in his ears. His mind raced for reason. Some trick, some lie, but the way they looked at him made his chest ache. They had Clara's eyes, gray-blue and calm as dusk. They even tilted their heads the same way she used to when she teased him. "Where's your mama now?" he managed to whisper. "She's waiting," the smaller one said, her tone simple, matter of fact. "Waiting where?" The twins glanced toward the far hills, where the storm clouds were gathering like smoke. "Home," one murmured. Thunder rolled low in the distance. Eli turned toward the sound, then back to the girls, but they were already walking past him, hand in hand, heading down the trail toward the house as if they'd been there 100 times before. He called after them, but they didn't look back. As he watched them go, the first drops of rain began to fall, hissing against the dry earth. And for the first time in 8 years, Eli Mercer felt something colder than grief crawl up his spine. He didn't know who those girls were, or what they were, but deep down, he knew one thing for certain. The dead didn't stay gone on Mercer land. The rain came hard and sudden that night, drumming against the tin roof and spilling through the gaps in the eaves. Eli built a fire in the kitchen stove, more out of habit than warmth, and watched the flames flicker while the two girls, Emma and Elsie, they said their names were, sat at the table, feet swinging above the floorboards. They looked too small for the room, too calm for strangers. He had given them bread and honey, the best he could do on short notice. They ate in silence, their manners polite, their movements so synchronized it made the hair on his arms stand up. Every time one reached for her cup, the other mirrored it perfectly. It was like watching a reflection breathe. Eli tried to keep his voice steady. "Where did you say you came from again?" Emma, the taller one, looked up with those pale blue eyes that seemed too familiar. "From where Mama told us to wait." "And where's that, exactly?" he pressed. Elsie smiled faintly. "Not far." He leaned back in his chair, uneasy. "Your mama, Clara, she's alive then?" Emma nodded as if it were the simplest thing in the world. "She's waiting for you." Thunder rolled across the valley, shaking the windows. Eli rubbed his jaw, staring at them. Their hair, their eyes, the curve of their noses, it was all Clara. His throat tightened as he remembered the photo they'd given him, now lying on the counter by the stove. It shouldn't exist, yet there it was. Clara holding 2 infants. "I buried your mama," he said hoarsely. "Or I tried to. There was a flood. The river took her. You didn't bury her," Emma interrupted gently. "You couldn't. The river kept her." Her words were like a stone dropped in a well, vanishing into the dark. Eli's hands trembled slightly. "The river kept her," he repeated. "You mean?" He trailed off, unable to finish. Elsie tilted her head. "She said you'd understand when you saw us." The lamp flickered once, twice, then steadied. The shadows on the wall seemed to stretch too long. The air had grown cold, thick with the scent of wet earth and something else, something like lilacs and river water. Eli stood suddenly, his chair scraping the floor. "That's enough," he said, more sharply than he intended. "You girls best tell me who sent you here." Emma met his gaze, unflinching. "We already did." The room went still. The fire hissed softly. Then Elsie reached for the photograph and slid it back toward him. "She said this would help you remember." Eli looked down, and his stomach turned. The photo was changing. Right before his eyes, the image shimmered like oil on water. The sky in the background darkened, and the figures began to move, Clara's smile fading, her dress clinging wetly to her legs as if soaked. The two infants in her arms blinked, their eyes opening. He dropped the picture. The twins didn't flinch. They watched him with quiet, patient eyes. Eli backed away, heart hammering. "You need to go," he said, voice shaking now. "I don't know who you are or what kind of trick this is, but you need to leave." Neither girl moved. Then came the voice, from the hallway. Soft, familiar. Eli. His breath caught. He turned slowly toward the sound. There, standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the front hall, was Clara. Her hair hung damp around her shoulders, her skin pale as moonlight. The dress she wore was the same one she'd had on the day of the flood. He'd never forgotten it, blue with white lace trim. Her eyes, gray as river stone, were fixed on him. For a heartbeat, Eli couldn't breathe. "Clara." She smiled sadly. "You took too long to come home." The fire dimmed. The lamp guttered out. Only the faint lightning outside lit the room in pulses of white. The twins rose from their chairs in perfect unison and stood beside her, each taking one of her hands. Eli's knees felt weak. "You can't be here," he whispered. "You can't." Clara took a step forward. With each step, the floorboards creaked and darkened, as if water was soaking through from below. "The river gave us back," she said softly. "It doesn't like to keep what belongs to love." A chill wind swept through the kitchen. The walls groaned. The sound of rushing water filled the house, distant at first, then roaring, as though the flood had returned. Eli stumbled back as icy water seeped over his boots. Clara reached out her hand. "It's time, Eli." He wanted to run, but he couldn't move. The water rose faster, swirling around his legs, dark and cold. He saw his reflection ripple in it, and behind him, three figures shimmering faintly in the current. Clara's eyes were kind, the way they used to be. "We waited for you," she said. Eli reached for her hand, and the world seemed to tilt and collapse into silence. When morning came, the Mercer ranch was quiet again. The rain had stopped. The ground was dry except for a single puddle by the porch steps. The kitchen door hung open, swaying gently in the breeze. Inside, the table was set for three. The bread sat untouched, and the air smelled faintly of lilacs. Out by the riverbank, three sets of footprints led down into the water, and vanished where the current deepened.